Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, I know I am a little bit late. Well, I'm not late. It's just I was a little bit behind the power turn grab on getting everything set up this morning because, well, it's Monday and I've got infusions and had to do some cooking. So, and while I was cooking, I decided to try out something new and new item that I got in that I actually I like it. And it has yeah, I'll tell you about here in a second as soon as I let me pull up my account and things that I've ordered in the past. And okay, that's coming in Thursdays. That's no big deal. I don't need that. I'm scrolling. Okay, so let me do this here. JOSEPH. See how that works. Here we go. Huh. I don't remember ordering that last year. Oh, I got that from the same company. Okay. Well, if I'd known that. All right. So let me go ahead and share this real quick. This is what I was playing with this morning. And I do recommend it. It's, at least from what I played with today, it is, as I've said before, I have some physical limitations, shall we say. And the rice or the potato ricer I had was just getting to be too much. And I saw this one here. It works off of a Helix method. Basically, you put your potatoes in the bottom part, then you put on the top, and you give it a twist, and the holes on the bottom, your potatoes come out. Then you can do with them as you will. You know, since I did some this morning, I just did a couple of red and yellows that I had, and that uh, I only had like five or six left, and like we'll go ahead and use them up. So I boiled them up in the skins and dropped them in there. Uh, and even with what I have, it really did a nice job. Added some butter, some sour cream, some prepared garlic, a little bit of half and half. Um, Used a fork and I had some pretty decent mashed potatoes. So, yeah, it is pricey. I will give you that. Let's see here. It is pricey, $22. Okay. But it works and it works well. They also make a smaller one for doing garlic, and they make one for, and one I have used and I really like it is one for juicing lemons and limes and even oranges. All work off the same principle. And yeah, I'm really happy with it, with them. Like I said, they're not cheap, but if you can't run a regular potato ricer and such anymore, or they're not as comfortable or more of a struggle, I do recommend this. Uh, it worked very well for me this morning. Hey, good morning, Ms. Ramen. Yeah, I'm talking about cooking already this morning because I used this thing for the first time this morning, and I was very happy with it. Hey, morning, Tyre. Morning, Digi. So, yeah, I do recommend that. This is a Joseph on Amazon, and it does work really well. I'm happy with it. Your fatty senses. That's good, Ron. That's good. I'm looking at this. I looking at this garlic peeler that they had sitting there, and they say you can drop a whole clove in there without peeling it. Skin in there. Okay. I don't know if that's worth $30, but I don't know. I don't get garlic fingers anyway, but yeah, whatever. I like what I got right now for doing that stuff. So I'm going to save on not spending. Oh, you got a fine mincer for 30, a coarse mincer for 30, or get them both for 50. Yeah, I think I will pass on that. I think I will pass. Close that. I don't need to have Amazon open anymore. And close that Amazon. And I don't need that open anymore. Okay. Get back over here to this page. Ramen, if you want to join up, I already sent you out the invite. But got a couple of things here I want to talk about. Let me get one of the serious ones over with here. Get it over with kind of early. There are a lot of people raising hell this weekend that 200 Palestinians were killed when the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, went in and rescued 4. Oh, yeah, you go lay down, Ramen. Turn off the lights, and I hope the kids leave you alone, okay? Just, try to sit in in a black room there, dark room, and take care of that migraine. I don't suffer from them, but I've heard enough of it that I know I'm glad I don't have them. So anyway, the IDF rescued 4. And I love how the media was portraying it that 4 hostages were released. A class A, double A classified bullshit. Those hostages were not released, they were rescued. Exactly. They were rescued. And all the media spins saying that Hamas released them. And then they go on whining and crying about the 200 civilians that were killed. Oh my God, 200 people died to rescue 4 people. Now, excuse me, but these 200 people, they were holding these 4 people hostage. Well, they were civilians, they weren't Hamas. Excuse me, they were holding these 4 people hostage. So if they were holding people hostage, if they were caring for these hostages, if they were knew that they were there and did nothing to get them out, they were guarding them, then I don't give a damn that they died, because they were in all intents and purposes aiding and abetting Hamas in this hostage taking and keeping these people hostage. And then I heard one news reporter, I could not believe these words come out of her lips. Well, shouldn't have the IDF given warning that they were coming in to rescue these hostages? Exactly, Tyre. Really? Give warning that they were coming in to rescue? Exactly how much warning did Hamas give when they captured these hostages? Hmm? Did Hamas give any warning? Did the Palestinians give any warning that this was going to happen? That October 7th was going to happen? Did they give any warning out? No, they didn't. They got what they gave. They did not deserve any warning. And if the and look at it in all realistically here. If for some stupid ass reason IDF did give the warning that they're coming and rescue these hostages, do you think Hamas would have left the hostages just sit there to be rescued? Or would they, at best, moved them, or at worst, just went ahead and shot them? No, the IDF did exactly right. And do I care that 200 people died, including some children, in this rescue attempt? I'm saddened at the loss of life. All life is precious. The children, they were they were killed. They died because their parents cared more about keeping people hostage that they didn't like than about their own children. Why would you put your children in a place where hostages were being kept? Hmm? Especially when you were having these hostages come in and clean your home and do your dishes and cook your meals. Yeah, that's what some of these hostages were required to do. Cook the meals, clean the house, do the dishes. They're doing it for families. The children, though their minds were being corrupted by their parents, are still innocent. The children are still innocent, even though their minds and souls are being corrupted by the actions of their parents and what the parents were teaching them. We've all seen the videos of these Palestinian schools and what they teach their kids in the schools. How to hate the Jews. They use Disney characters, by God, to teach the children how to hate Jews and Israelis. Yeah, Tyre, the hostages were being used as slaves. So I've got sympathy for the children. Children are almost always innocent. And when children, young children, I'm not talking about teenagers, I'm not talking about 18, 19-year-olds, I'm not talking about young adults, I'm talking children, preteens. They only know what their parents taught them. They only know what their parents, just like here in America, just like here in the United States. Young children only know what we teach them, what we teach them in schools, what we teach them at home. What they learn from watching television and children's shows. But these adults and anybody else, collateral damage around the rescue, 200 for four. I wouldn't care if it's 1,000 for four. Those four people were hostages. They weren't military captured on a combat field, on a field of battle. They weren't politicians. These are innocent people who are living their lives, going on picnics, going to a concert, playing ball. That's what these people were. They weren't combatants, they weren't captured on a battlefield. One particular BBC interviewer ended up the BBC finally fired someone for being so antagonistic in their interviews of family members of the hostages. They they actually fired someone, and I am not overly concerned about it. That a woman got fired. I can't remember her name. BBC interviewer fired. That wasn't it. What was? Let's see if I can find her name. Okay, come on. Interviewing hostage sister. Oh no, it wasn't BBC. It was a Hill. Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong here. It wasn't a BBC interviewer. It was an interviewer for the Hill. So let me share this story real quick. And remember, this is why I get so mad at Brianna Joy Gray, the Hill fired political commentator. This is her over here. Brianna Joy Gray, after she rolled her eyes during an interview with the sister of Israeli hostage abducted by Hamas in the attacks of October 7th. This finally happened. The Hill has fired me. There should be no doubt about it. At Rising the Hill as a clear platform is suppressing speech, particularly when it's critical of the state of Israel. Her firing was clearly part of a coordinated effort. Uh, Notice of contract termination. Dear Brown Joy, this is 30 days written notice that your consulting services agreement is being terminated pursuant to provisions of Section 5.3 for convenience. Nexstar Media, Inc. Now, I watched the interview, all right, and I have got to be honest. I could not see her rolling her eyes. I know she was very dismissive in her whole attitude towards the sister of a hostage. And let me come back up here to this picture. And her discussion, I believe it was this gentleman here, either before or after this interview, it may have been after, was absolutely disgusting. Hey, morning, Josh. Yeah, Tyler, you had that up there. I noticed at the same time I found it, or just before I found it. But anyway, this is something, this whole weekend and all of the fuss and muss on the media over this, and the lies by the left in the media over this interview, or not, over the rescue, that they still claiming, many of them are still claiming that the hostages released. They weren't. They're still claiming that the 200 dead shouldn't have happened. Some are still sticking to their idea that the IDF should have given a warning prior to going in there. Until all the hostages are free, this whole mess in Gaza will not end. That's a given. Anybody with two working brain cells should know that. Until all the hostages have been released, alive or dead, back to Israel and their families, world opinion is not going to give one damn to Netanyahu or Israel. and it shouldn't. And I don't understand the hatred of so many for Israel and trying to get back their hostages, trying to get back their citizens. This would be tantamount to Mexico kidnapping a bunch of American citizens. And trying to get or the cartels kidnapping a bunch of American citizens, and people getting mad that the United States didn't do everything they could to get them back. And having the world condemning the United States for trying to get their citizens back. I wouldn't give a damn what the world said, as long as one of our citizens was still being held hostage by someone else. Especially a non-combatant. A woman, a child, an elderly man. I wouldn't care. And neither should Israel about theirs. So, all right. Okay, Josh, actually, there's sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. That is relating to the next thing I'm going to cover here, I guess. The DOJs and judges, are they honest? That has to do with testifying before Congress, which is something else I'm going to cover here today. All right. So let's go to this. Da, 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 da. Here we go. And I want to share that. See, I knew what I wanted to cover today, just I got a late start in getting it all set up. All right, here's the Pride mural painted on the road. A road. Vehicles travel up and down this road, right? People walk across this street. Dogs, cats travel across this street, and sometimes dogs will take a shit on them or piss on them. Cats, not so much. Kids ride scooters and bicycles on them. And yet, get stories like this. A Florida man is accused of intentionally doing multiple burnouts on an LGBTQ painted, pride painted intersection with his truck earlier this month before he surrendered after a week-long search. Dylan Brewer, 19, was caught on surveillance video in his lifted pickup truck. Well, I'll tell you right now, lifted pickup truck, that's indication that this man is gay. So a gay man did burnouts on a gay flag. Okay, that's just my opinion. But these pickup trucks have been lifted or squatted or whatever else they want to do to them. That's the beginning of an indication that a gay man is driving, or woman is driving that pickup truck. All right. As the truck peeled out in the area, two curved tire marks were left behind. Witnesses reported Brewer was observed intentionally performing multiple burnouts with his vehicle, the LGBT Pride. This was a crime. He had to turn himself in. Okay, there's this young man. Felony criminal mischief to damage over $1,000 and misdemeanor reckless driving. Had to put up a $5,200 bond to get out of jail. So, yeah, I mean, this guy is facing, because it's a felony, this guy's facing, I believe, if I looked it up, a couple weeks ago, and I believe it's something like up to 3 years in jail. Yet, this weekend, this happened in Washington, D.C. Okay. This all happened this weekend in Washington, D.C. And not one person was arrested. Nobody was arrested for any of this. And according to the articles I read, they've got no intentions of arresting anybody, no intentions of finding out who did it, tracking them down, using video evidence to find out who actually did it, and tracking them down and arresting them. All right. I mean, right here, these people throwing this stuff at this park ranger, that's a felony. That is a felony. Assaulting a police officer. Nobody's going to be arrested for it. All these young punks are sitting out there having a good old time. So sometimes it's a crime to deface something that's on the roadway. It's a crime to deface something that's on the road because it offends a certain population. Because that paint on the road that's meant to be traveled over that's going to get wear and tear on it is much more important than the statues in front of the White House. or the statues that have been torn down back in 2020. You know, the Summer of Peace, and people were tearing down statues all through the East Coast because they didn't like what those statues represented. People didn't go to jail. The government didn't dedicate millions of dollars to tracking them down. And putting them in jail. But you dare to set foot inside the Capitol building in a peaceful and non-destructive way, and the government will move heaven and hell to have your ass arrested, thrown in jail, kept in jail for 2-3 years with no trial, sometimes kept in solitary confinement because you dared set foot inside the Capitol building. You didn't destroy nothing. You didn't bust no windows. You didn't do anything. You just walked into the building. And they spent millions of dollars to arrest you. But you assault a park ranger. You paint graffiti on statues. You tear statues down. Nothing. Sometimes it's a crime. Sometimes it's not. But our current Justice Department, DOJ, our current DOJ will sit there and claim that they're even-handed in how they go about administrating justice. They're even-handed. They don't care what somebody's politics are. If you break the law, you broke the law. You're going to be punished. It's just, they're going to spend more time looking for the lawbreakers depending upon their political affiliation or the message that they're conveying. Some messages don't require or aren't worthy of the same investigative time or power as others are. There should be hundreds of people sitting with their asses in jail after this weekend. What happened up in D.C. There should be hundreds of people in jail. Okay, Neil. Well, see, there's another case this weekend. A woman was taking her mother to she was having a medical thing. She parked her car. She walked inside. Another woman jumped in the car, stole it, crashed it, and the elderly woman inside the car died. And so far, they have not charged the woman with murder because they're saying they're waiting on medical evidence that it was the car crash and not her medical emergency that killed her. So, all right. Anyway, good morning, Neil. Scourge. Somebody else show up that I didn't see. Oh, morning, Wiley. I didn't see you pop in. Oh, I already said hi to Tyre. So this DOJ, and not just the DOJ in Washington, D.C., but across the country, not just New York. Here in Florida recently, Governor DeSantis fired 2 prosecutors, elected prosecutors. He had them removed. One woman took her removal before the courts, saying that was unfair that she lost her job. And the courts looked at what she had to say, looked at what DeSantis's office had to say, looked at the facts and said, sorry there, judge, but yeah, you're no longer a judge. DeSantis was right. You were not performing or not judge, but prosecutor. You were not performing your duties under the law as you should have been. You were not prosecuting cases as you should have been. Surprise, surprise, both these prosecutors that DeSantis fired from their position received a majority of their funding when they ran from Soros. So we do have a problem in this country right now with and it's not what the media would like to have you say or believe, that black people and brown people can't get a fair hearing, that they're unfairly prosecuted, they're unfairly treated by the justice system. That's not it. And well, let's put it this way. It's not the way that you would normally think of when you say somebody's being unfairly treated by the justice system. I would agree they are being unfairly treated, that they're not being treated as other people or as, say, white people would be. I would agree, because they're being let loose. They're having their charges reduced. They're not being sentenced as they should be. They're being given much more lenient sentences. So yeah, I would agree they're being unfairly, or they're not being equally treated. They're being treated in as special cases. They're being given privileged treatment. Now, you and I, in most cases, can't get on an airplane without showing an ID card. We can't. We have to have, and we were talking about this last week with that hullabaloo left-wing horror stories about the Real ID Act and what that's going to mean to commercial travel. That you won't be, I mean, right now you can't get on an airplane without government issued ID. And when the Real ID Act next year goes 100% into effect, get my tongue off my eye teeth, you won't be able to get on a plane unless your driver's license, your state issued ID, complies with the Real ID Act. And the only way you can do that is if your state complies with it. Now, we all know. Am I a fan of the fact I got to show ID to get on an airplane to travel? I've got, I've got to wear slip on shoes in order to travel so that I don't have to tie and untie my shoes. I've got to open up my luggage and make certain, anything I want to carry on, that I can't take a bottle of water with me that I paid 25 cents for, but I got to buy their $3 and $4 and $5 bottle of water at the airport if I want a bottle of water. I can't pack a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from home. That I've got to buy that $15 burger or that $10 pre-made piece of trash chicken salad sandwich at the airport. That gold star is your real ID data. If you've got a Florida driver's license and you've got one in the past, I think it's 10 years, then your driver's license should comply with the Real ID Act. Florida got on that in a hurry. Had to take a copy of my birth certificate, my military ID card, which made it a lot easier for me. My military ID card, birth certificate, my rental agreement to show that I was actually living in Florida, and something else to get my driver's license. So let's see. What are you saying, Josh? Most likely, few will own or build personal aircraft, and nobody will be traveling anywhere by air in a decade or two. What tire? Not all. Okay, you can, but once you can't take it past you. Well, let's put it this way: the airport here, you can't take any food or drink past the TSA checkpoint. Hey, morning, Mike. I don't know about what it's that where it is where you work, but here at our local airport, no food or drink past the TSA checkpoint. I got caught. I mean, I had a McDonald's double cheeseburger and a bottle of water, and the bottle of water was still sealed. And they threw them both away on me. Yeah, they threw them both away on me, Tyre. So no food or drink past the TSA. Now, once you got past the TSA checkpoint, you could go and hit up the food shops and such inside and buy and take all that stuff onto the plane with you. But you know those prices as well as I do. I mean, that $2 McDonald's double cheeseburger would cost $6 or $7 inside the airport. Jimmy John's sub goes from $8 to $15. So yeah, That's the way it is, buddy. Like I said, I don't know. I can only speak from the experiences I've lived. So, yeah, yeah, they didn't even give me the option to eat it, which I can take down a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. I could take that down in about 4 bites. But it is what it is. I don't, I just comply with their rules. I'm gonna love it next time I fly with my new cane. Uh, let's see what they got to say about this, about my new cane, because that could be interesting. I feel like I in a way I do agree with you there, Tyre. But anytime the government can set up controls like they do, you can expect the prices inside to be ridiculous. Because these people have to pay, the businesses inside that airport have to pay the airport a percentage for being in there. And, the airport sets minimum wages, what your wages are going to be inside of the airport for those shops. I mean, I've talked to the people that manage those places. And like a hotel was recently built. Uh, technically, it's on airport property. The hotel is owned by the company that built it, but the property belongs to the airport. And their rates are, I mean, are their rates are very high, but like the manager said, is they pay the airport a percentage of every room that they rent. So, oh, okay. Well, good luck. Have a good day there, Data. Uh, One day I'm going to have you on if you and tell us about some of your Uber stuff. I watched some of these videos from Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, and some of the stuff that goes on in their cars is absolutely ridiculous. It's amazing what people think they can get away with inside of somebody's car. Driving Iba Alice. I've got a tiger head that says Iba Alice on it. So, all right. But as I said, sometimes things are crimes and sometimes things are not. Even though it's the exact same act, it all depends on whose feelings are being hurt by that particular action. Okay, I've got a congressional bill here, Senate bill, that the Democrats are trying to get pushed through. And a lot of Republicans have voted against it and are voting against it. And the media, as usual, the Republicans are evil. The Republicans don't care about the people. The Republicans hate women and children. And what's this bill? It's a very short bill. Bill S381. It is the Right to Contraception Act. So now you see the left, the and the media, one and the same. Republicans are evil. They don't want women to be able to get contraception. This is evil. So let's go over this bill real quick. It's short. It's short. It really is. Get through all the garbage here. Contraception. The term contraception means an action taken to prevent pregnancy, including the use of contraceptives or fertility awareness-based methods and sterilization procedures. Contraceptive. The term contraceptive means any drug, device, or biological product intended for the use of prevention of pregnancy, whether specifically intended to prevent pregnancy or for other health needs, that is approved, cleared, authorized, or licensed under the Okay, I'm back. My internet went out. No idea why, but my internet went out. And I have no idea where I was at when it went. Is anybody still here? Thanks, Raman. I was yeah, my it okay, great. Well, what a goat rope. Okay. Yes, I am back. All right. So let me go back to the text on this bill. All right. Hopefully, y'all got. I have no idea where I was at when it lost the bill. All right. When I lost my internet, I have no idea where I was at. So let me reopen my phone again and get. There we go. Close down the audio on this. I'll just turn down the volume on my phone. There we go. I was just introducing the bill. Okay. So the purpose of, okay, get back through. The purpose is provide a clear and comprehensive right to contraception, permit individuals. Now let's make certain we pay attention to the language you're using here. Permit individuals to seek and obtain contraceptives and engage in contraception, and to permit healthcare providers to facilitate that care, to protect an individual's ability to make decisions about their body, medical care, family, and life courses, and thereby protect the individual's ability to participate equally in the economic and social life of the United States. All that sounds wonderful. Pie in the sky, beautiful. Okay. Should a person have the right to contraception? Yes. Should be an individual's right to decide whether or not they want to have contraception. Yes. Oh, wow. So it lost it all the way up there, huh? Defining contraception. Wow. Okay. Defining contraception, the term, any action meant to prevent pregnancy, contraceptive, any drug device or biological product intended for the use to prevent pregnancy. Okay, government, healthcare provider. The term healthcare provider means any entity or individual, including physician, certified nurse, midwife, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, and pharmacist that is licensed or otherwise authorized by a state to provide healthcare services, and then the states. All right. An individual has a statutory right under this act to obtain contraceptives and voluntarily engage in contraception. Free from coercion, the healthcare provider has a corresponding right to provide contraceptives, contraception, information referrals, services related to. Statutory rights specified in the subsection shall not be limited or otherwise infringed through limitation or requirement that expressively and effectively, implicitly, or as implemented singles out a provision of contraception, contraceptives, contraception, or contraception related information. Healthcare providers who provide contraceptives, contraception, or related facilities in which contraceptives, contraception, or related information is provided, and appease access to. All right. Exception to defend against a claim that a limitation or requirement violates a healthcare provider's or individual's statutory rights under subsection must establish by clear and convincing evidence that the limitation or requirement significantly advances access to contraception, and information related to access to these things cannot be advanced by a less restrictive alternate or measure. Access to contraceptives, contraception, or information related to or the health of the patients cannot be advanced. Nothing in this section be construed to limit the Secretary of Health and Human Services, da 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 da. All right, this here's where, again, in general, except, and let me go ahead and put a link here. Because if somebody hasn't, somebody will ask for the link. In general, except as provided in each subsection of this act, supersedes and applies to the federal government, state implementation of such laws, statutory common law, yada, yada, yada. Neither the federal government or any state may administer, implement, or enforce any rule, law, regulation, standard, or other provision having the force of the law in the manner that prohibits or restricts the sale provision of any contraceptives, prohibits or restricts any individual from aiding another individual from voluntarily obtaining, exempts any contraceptives or contraceptive methods. So, what's missing from all this? What is missing from all this? There's nothing there saying that a 13-year-old, that you have to be an adult, you have to be of legal age. So, according to this law, a 13-year-old can walk into a pharmacy and buy contraceptives. And they can't stop them. There's nothing there about requiring a parent to approve a child buying contraceptives. A school teacher can go and buy them and pass them out to her students, his or her students, under this bill. There's nothing here to protect children. Hey, Fury, good afternoon. There is nothing in this bill to protect children or saying that a child's parents need to be informed. Nothing. Absolutely nothing in this bill. In fact, this bill would make it illegal to try to stop a child from getting their hands on contraceptives, a teacher passing them out to them. It would require the school nurse to give them to them. This bill would require a school nurse to pass out contraceptives and not notify the parents. That is why the Republicans are against this bill. Furry, you can say anything you want to say, you know it, as long as it isn't something that's going to get me kicked off YouTube. I don't moderate my chat. I ask you keep it simple and decent. But if you're in a pissy mood and you want to unleash on something or something I'm talking about infuriate you, go for it, man. I'm not going to stop you. I ask that you don't personally attack other people in the stream. And there's a couple of people, much like Stargazer is under special protection by Monkey, Ramen is under my special protection. Nobody messes with my ramen. But other than that, but anyway. So if you want to know why the Republicans are voting against their bill, there's no protection for children in this thing. There's no protection for parents. There's nothing saying that this law only applies to legal adults 18 and over. So if you want to figure out why Republicans are against it, the media doesn't tell you why people are against it. They don't. All right, let's listen to Tammy Duckworth here. Let's listen to Tammy Duckworth here and listen to her rant.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. In the nearly 2 years since the Supreme Court threw out Roe v. Wade, we've seen extreme MAGA Republicans work to roll back healthcare and tear.
Extreme MAGA Republicans. Oh, yes. We're extremists. Compared to you, Tammy, hell yes, I'm an extremist.
Reproductive freedom away from Americans across the country. And as a result of these barbaric efforts, birth control, including Plan B, IUDs, condoms, and other forms of contraceptions, are under threat. Today, Senate Democrats took action and brought our Right to Contraception Act to the floor for a vote, a very simple vote. Do you support the right to contraception? It's legislation that I'm incredibly proud to co-lead with Senators Markey and Hirono. What our legislation sought to do is in the name. It would codify every American's right to access birth control.
No, she said every American. She didn't say every adult American. She's including children in this. This is the skinny here. This is what they're trying to do. Let's see if I can get this 480, much better. This is, that she's not telling you that this is limited to adults only, because it's not. This bill is intentionally written to allow children to get access to it on their own.
Matter their zip code. And our legislation would also establish a right for doctors to provide contraception and discuss options with their patients without fear of being prosecuted or thrown in jail. And this should have been easy. But unfortunately, cruelly, Senate Republicans blocked it. And by doing so, they've made it clear once again that they are committed to continuing their anti-choice, anti-science crusade.
Anti-choice, anti-science. All right, first of all, you've always got a choice on whether or not you get pregnant, woman. Every woman has got a choice as to whether or not to get pregnant. Every man has got the choice as to whether or not to get a woman pregnant. It's real simple. It's really simple. It's a decision that has been made for thousands of years. If you don't want to get pregnant or get someone pregnant, you don't have sex. You don't put the penis in the vagina. Okay? You don't want to get pregnant. You don't want to get someone else pregnant. You don't have vaginal sex. It really is that simple. So once again, you notice, the lies of omission.
That is putting access to basic health care across our country at risk. They voted against birth control, against Plan B and IUDs. They voted against freedom for Americans to decide if, when, and how they want to become a parent.
No, they didn't. No, they did not. They voted against the unbridled access to this stuff by children because you didn't state in your bill that this was for adults only. And the way you wrote that bill, children would be given unfettered access to it. And the way you're talking, you want children to have unfettered access to it.
It's despicable, but it's not over. Many Republicans will say that we are being overzealous and that there's no real threat to birth control. Well, they also said that we were overreacting when we warned the country that they were coming for Roe v. Wade. Republicans said we were overreacting when we said IVF would be next. But this is not an overreaction. This has been Republicans' plan all along. And that is why Senate Democrats will keep working to protect the right to access contraception, the right to access reproductive health care and IVF, and the reproductive freedom that every American deserves, no matter their zip code. Thank you.
It's not a matter of the zip code there, young lady or old lady. Well, you're young compared to me, so I guess I'll call you young lady. Exactly, Ramen. These, I posted the bill. You got a link to it. I read you the bill. At no point did they say this is for adults. And once again, let me state this as a simple fact. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. As long as it is between two consenting adults. And when I say adults, I mean those at least 18 years of age and over who are mental soundness. They understand all the ramifications of what they're doing. I believe in women having the pill. I believe in condoms. The IUD, it seems to work, especially the copper one, seems to work extremely well. These items meant and designed to prevent pregnancy, I've got no problem with. Okay? A lot of things can prevent pregnancy. And like I said, the most simplest, easiest, and the only one that has been proven to work 100% of the time is not to have sex. Not to put the pee-pee inside the hoo-hoo. Okay? That works 100% of the time. You also know where I stand on abortion. You put the pee-pee inside the hoo-hoo and you end up getting caught and pregnant. I don't, unless your life is 100% in danger, I don't believe in abortion. To use abortion as a birth control device is abhorrent, in my opinion. But I don't feel, that's enough said on that. So, but when the Democrats sit here and they start making their claims like Tammy Duckworth just did, and you're not seeing the media going out and asking why Republicans are against something, they just paint them as being evil and nasty people. Go and look up the bill, read the bill, look to see what's in it, or better yet, what's not in it. Look up what's been omitted from that bill. Because usually what's been omitted from that bill is oftentimes as good of a reason to vote down a bill as to what is actually in the bill. So, there's IVF is extremely expensive. So, I mean, and it's not an easy process. You're working at getting pregnant using IVF. So anyway, let's see here. We all know Biden starts speaking to reporters. He is going to say something kind of embarrassing. He's going to say, that especially when it's something that, he's speaking off the cuff. He's not standing in front of a lectern and he doesn't have prepared notes. And he's just, working from, his 3 or 4 working brain cells are working overtime and trying to get him to speak coherently and walk to wherever he needs to go. For them to remember where he needs to go and then to walk him there in the most direct fashion possible. But anyway,
do you hope Americans take away from you coming on this trip?
Acknowledge that the best way to avoid these kinds of battles in the future is to stay strong with our allies. Do not break. Do not break.
Do you feel that Americans are slipping Do you think that Americans are not holding that view anymore? That
No, I
there's a
don't. I
slippage?
think the Americans hold the view. I think there's a new rise and a sense of some within the country wanting to let that slip. The idea that we become semi-isolationists now, which some are talking about. I mean, the idea we had to wait all those months just to get the money for Iraq because we were waiting. I mean, it's not who we are.
I wonder why he said Iraq. You would think, we all know that he's most likely meant to say Ukraine. And that's what his office kicked out later when they amended his little speech there. They meant to say the Ukraine and not Iraq. But once again, our buddy there, our president. Now, this is something I've got this tangent here. I just said, our president. And I mean it. He is our president. I didn't vote for him. I don't support him. He's done very little that I approve of since he's sworn into office. In fact, I really can't think of too much that he has done that I do approve of. And if you'll remember back when Obama was president, I gave Obama full credit when he finally went after the pirates around Mogadishu that were attacking the ships. And I gave Obama credit for that because he deserved that credit. He deserved the credit when he sent the Navy in after him. He did something that was right. And now that Biden is finally talking about finishing the wall, I got to give him credit for that. I don't like the way he's doing it. I don't like anything else about it, but he is finally finishing the wall. Now, his latest scam that we just covered, evidently it's not being followed correctly. And I don't have the articles up on that. But there's plenty of complaints out there right now that he is, that they're allowing as many people to cross the southern border now as they were before. Even though supposedly he did sign that executive order that's supposed to shut the border down. Quote unquote, shut the border down. But, it's doing even less than what he said it would do. It's doing even less than what the bill was written would do. So like I said, you have to read these executive orders. You have to read the bills. And when the media is pushing something as being wonderful and loved, really read it and find out what's actually in there. Because you're going to find stuff in there saying, wait a second, this isn't doing what they say that it's doing. Or when they're condemning a party over a bill, read the bill and see what's actually in it. Versus just listening to the media, Republicans are devils, the Republicans are scum, they're being evil for not approving the contraceptive bill. Well, you put some age restrictions in there and make it adults only, and where adults can get to it and children can't, then hey, we're working on something. But when you say that children have got the right, when you imply by the fact that you didn't exclude them from it, and you're saying, oh, that means children are allowed to go in and get this stuff without parental consent or approval, then hey, we got an issue here. So Fury, I fully understand what you're saying. I fully understand you. Okay. But Biden is our president. You hear the Democrats, during Trump, he's not my president. He's not my president. Yeah, he is your president. Whether you like it or not, he is your president. Like it or not. So there's that rant. All right. So what's next here? I don't need that anymore. Judge Garland, or excuse me, he's not a judge. He didn't make a judge. Last week Garland was in front of I don't want that. Garland was sitting out there doing his thing, being questioned. And this is not from Forbes, but I got to do what I got to do when I'm trying to find these videos. Let's see here. No, that's the best it's going to get. Okay.
2024 at the Tabernacle Baptist Church in Selma, Alabama. You made comments regarding our country's elections and election security laws passed by various states. Specifically, you claimed that democracy was under attack by, and I quote, discriminatory, burdensome, and unnecessary restrictions on access to the ballot. Attorney General, do you believe requiring an ID to vote in a federal election is discriminatory? Yes or no?
Yes or no? What do you think? First of all, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that requiring someone to show that they are who they say they are? Because, we all, well, I'm hoping we all, I know as long as I've been voting, every time I've gone to a polling booth and voted, I've had to sign next to my name showing that I got a ballot and what my ballot number was or is, and that I signed twice. You sign once on your ballot, and then you sign once on the showing that you got your ballot so that they compare the signatures if there's any questions later. Garland was going to be nominated to be a Supreme Court justice. Thank God he never made it. But anyway. But personally, I think, I like that idea of that purple ink on your finger that a lot of Middle Eastern countries do. When you go in and vote, put your finger in the purple ink, and that shows you voted. You can't go back and vote again. I like that idea. That stuff wears off in a couple of days. I want us to go back to one-day voting. Everybody votes on the same day. No early voting. Voting by absentee only if you're going to be out of city or state. But other than that, one day vote. If they want to, now if they want to make it like a banking holiday, so people are off work and can go vote, okay, that's fine. I could live with that. Once every 4 years or once every 2 years, you got a holiday like that to go out and vote. I could live with that. But I'd like to see us go back to one day voting. One day, that's it. Everybody votes on the same day. Absentee ballots only by those who are in the hospital, laid up at home and can't get out, whatever. But yes or no, is showing an ID a threat to democracy?
On access to the ballot. Attorney General, do you believe requiring an ID to vote in a federal election is discriminatory? Yes or no?
I spoke at the
Just yes or no.
iconic church from which the March for Voting Rights began.
It's a yes or no question. These guys always blow. They can't answer yes or no because they can burn up time when they don't. They know these people only have so much time. So the more time they ask them questions.
March voting
ID can be unconstitutional.
It can be, depending on the burdens and the discriminatory way in which they are taken. This is
Okay, so do you think it's important to positively identify every voter to ensure that they are a legal voter? I think, as you called it, a legitimate voter.
no. You have to be a United States citizen. You have to meet the qualifications to be a voter. It's important that only those people vote.
So how do you prove that? I mean, how do you prove what a person is if you don't require ID? I mean, you require ID to get on an airplane. They're not going to let you on an airplane.
I don't know what
unless
your
you're illegal, I
experience has
guess.
been, but I have voted every year my entire life, and I've never been asked to show an identification.
I have always been asked to show identification.
Well, then we have, but
Wow.
somehow the democracy
So,
has gone on without.
Attorney General Garland, do you believe that illegal aliens residing in the United States should be allowed to vote in federal elections? Yes or no?
No.
All right, great.
Oh my God, he actually said no. He gave a yes or no answer without ranting on.
We agree on something. Other than U.S. citizens, are there any other legitimate voters?
You have to be a U.S. citizen to vote in
You
federal
must be a
election.
U.S. citizen. Okay. Consent to add this to the record, Mr. Chairman. This is posted around the migrant camps, and it is a poster from HIAS, the Immigrant Aid Society. And this particular poster says the Resource Center is a 6-unit complex that is home of HIAS. And at the very bottom, it says, reminder to vote for President Biden when you are in the United States. We need another year of your mandate to stay open. That's what this poster says. Reminds illegal immigrants to vote for President Biden. So, is the Department of Justice concerned about illegal aliens voting in federal elections?
The Department of Justice is concerned about any illegalities with respect to voting. I've never seen that poster. I've never heard of that.
Then your head has been up your ass. That poster and posters like that have been talked about now for the past 4 years. They've been found all over the place. They've been found in the United States as well as in Mexico. So you've been living with your head up your ass then, if you've never seen or heard that poster.
That poster, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody even mention that poster.
Well, now you have. So if any non-citizens vote in federal elections, are you going to prosecute them at the federal level?
Anybody violates the voting laws, and if they are federal
Yes or no? Yes or no?
voting laws, then, and we will investigate and prosecute as appropriate.
All right.
I love this, as appropriate. Remember, as appropriate, they can damage federal property, federal statues. They can paint them, they can destroy them, they can tear them down. Well, it's not appropriate to prosecute them. But it is appropriate to prosecute anybody that dares leaves tire tread marks on a mural painted on the roadway. That's appropriate prosecution. It's appropriate to prosecute a former president who legally had classified information secure, but it's not appropriate to prosecute another vice president or senator who had him stored in his garage next to his Corvette. That just isn't appropriate.
That's good to hear. I appreciate that. With the additional money you asked for the Civil Rights Division, I hope that you prosecute illegal voting. Now, last year you promised.
Oh, he'll prosecute illegal voting, but they're only going to prosecute those who voted the wrong way. They're not going to prosecute anybody else.
To provide the prosecution of crime statistics for the city of Washington, D.C. for the last 5 years. It was a question that I asked you. I have not yet received them. So I'm asking you again today, do you commit to provide these statistics, the prosecution of crime statistics for the city of Washington, D.C.? Will you provide these in the next 30 days?
I'll ask my staff to get in touch with yours. I don't know what the problem is with respect to providing those. It doesn't seem like there should be a problem.
Yeah, the problem is there, Mr. Garland, that you don't want to release that information. So now there's a reason why I did this about the questioning of Garland there over voting. Besides the fact listening to the man lie is always fun. I don't know if you're aware of this little tidbit, but President Biden signed an executive order ordering government agencies to act as get out the vote stations. All right.
Great state of Arizona for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Whitson, in your opinion, sir, why is the SBA involved itself in
SBA, the Small Business Administration.
election process and registering voters in swing states?
Thank you for that question. So this is part of the executive order. It commanded every single federal agency to take part in this whole of government, get out the vote effort to benefit the Biden administration. And so SBA is one of those tools. And so Michigan, as we mentioned, it's well-known fact that it's a key battleground state. And so it doesn't require a lot of votes to make a significant impact. And
Right.
so that's
Right.
what it appears.
What does the SBA stand for, Mr. Whitson? Do you know?
It's the Small Business Administration.
Do you find that odd that the Small Business Administration is involved in getting out the vote in a state that President Biden is down in and absolutely needs to win to stay president?
Absolutely.
You said that there's other government agencies doing this as well, Mr. Whitson. Can you go over those real quick?
Yes. So again, that's the Health and Human Services has transformed more than 1,400 federally qualified health centers located in states across the country into voter registration hubs. You got the Department of Labor has turned more than 2,300 American job centers, again, scattered across the country into voter registration hubs. USDA, Department of Education is allowing federal work study funds to go to college students to become an army of workers for left-wing groups engaging in voter registration activity, again, in strongholds where there's more Democrat votes than there are Republican. So
Yeah.
the list goes on.
Imagine that. You also said this was more alarming than the Zuckerbuck scheme by the Democrats back in 2020. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I think that scheme offers the perfect illustrative example of what's going on here. And so Zuckerbucks, people could look at it on the surface and say, this looks funny, but it was only until after the election when we could go in, FGA went in, and we got the exact numbers of where money went, which counties and what amounts, that we could have the proof. And so this is that same scheme, but instead of $400 million, it is the unlimited funding, resources, reach, and power of the federal government and its agencies in every state. So it's Zuckerbucks on steroids.
And we don't even know how much they're spending yet, do we? Because they won't be transparent about it, right?
That's exactly right.
That's what I thought. Ms. Morales, why do you think the SBA is involving itself in, I'm sorry, Mr. Morales, why do you think the SBA isn't involving itself in your state, in Indiana?
Well, they're not involving Indiana. I wish they have come to my state and talk to me. Like I say, I would love to work with them when it comes specifically with businesses.
Yeah.
Helping our Hoosier business.
Yeah, they seem to have forgotten that that's their main focus. But I'll tell you, sir, the reason they're not involving themselves in your state is because I checked, and your state is a Republican plus like 11 state. So it's a Republican state. That's why they're not. You're not a swing state. That's why they're not involving themselves there. Do you believe this is election interference, Miss Elaine Parker?
I do believe it's election interference when you're going into a targeted area of state to register people for election. But again, I believe that the SBA should be focused on the small business and advocating for small businesses within the administration. There's a regulatory onslaught that's happening against our small businesses, disproportionately hurts them. And that's what the SBA should be focused on, is protecting their interests.
Absolutely. We've got rising inflation, right? Overregulation, real disposable income down 7.5%, 21% increase in credit card interest rates.
All right. So you think the SBA is really going to be concerned about who or what they get to register? You think the Health and Human Services, the Health and Human Services have been very active with working with illegals. You think they're going to be concerned about the legality of whoever it is that they're registering to vote in these swing states? The federal government, the executive office, should not be getting involved in getting people registered to vote in targeted states like they're doing. I'm going to go old school. I'm going to go very old school. Motor voter bill. I like the way it was before the motor voter bill ever became a thing under Bill Clinton. You should have to go to your city hall or to the office of where your county representative who's in charge of the votes. You should go one of two places, and that's it, to register to vote. That way, you've got a city employee. You're showing up with the documentation you need to vote. And you sit there, you fill out the paperwork to register. They review it to ensure that you are legal to vote. Then they register you and they give you your voter ID card. When I grew up in the part of Ohio I grew up in at the time, I've said this before, I was the first person in my family to register as a Republican. I didn't do that until I moved to Arizona. When my dad was an old school Union Democrat, old ancient school Union Democrat. And he finally went to register to vote as a Republican, which was after I did, which was during Reagan's administration. Which actually was after Reagan got shot. My dad went registered as a Republican. They had to look up for the paperwork to register him as a Republican because all their paperwork was for registering as a Democrat. They didn't have any paperwork to register him as a Republican. That not real handy. They had to go find it. That's how Democrat Party strong my hometown was. And we're talking primarily Irish, Italians, and Scottish, and American Indian. All right. The Amish didn't vote, so, don't worry about the Amish. Amish don't vote. Fury, I am from Ohio. Born, grew up in Ohio, grew up on farmland. So, but I've lived in Arizona. I lived in Arizona for a couple of years. Then I went to Germany for 3 years. And then I've been down here in sunny Florida since January 4th, 1984. 2:00 in the afternoon. So, but yeah, I'm about as Buckeye as you can get. I was seriously trying to get into I'd gone through the trade schools for television and radio broadcasting, and I was trying to get into Ohio State University or Valparaiso University to continue my education in radio and TV broadcasting. So, but anyway. What's next here on my list? Okay, let's look at some some judicial nominees here. All right. We already caught the DOJ, the Attorney General, lying. He doesn't give a shit. He's up there lying before Congress. I mean, he said he would have. He told the senator once before he'd have information to him. Here it is, months later, and he still didn't have it on the crime stats of Washington, D.C. He's going to try to put it off until as late as he can so that it can't be used. Those crime stats can't be used by the Republicans. And if you want, I've got some interesting information on crime stats and how they're being twisted by the Democrats. But anyway, let's listen to this woman here. Let's listen to this questioning for judicial nominees. This is a Democrat.
Truly does impede the city's residents from receiving timely access to holding the hearing is, you noted in your opening remarks, and our nominees have spoken to the vacancies of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia truly does impede the city's residents from receiving timely access to justice. And I'm glad that we are here today to do some work to address that issue. I'm particularly proud to see that so many of these exceptional nominees have California roots. Ms. Boucher, as a
Just what we need. More judges. Elevated lifetime appointment judges. Coming out of the great state of California. The land of fruits and nuts. So damn liberal that anything to the right of Genghis Khan or anything to the right of Marx is evil.
native Angelino, Ms. Johnston as a UCLA graduate, and Mr. Trong, USC. I'm sure if we dug deep enough, we find some California background in our other two nominees as well. Needless to say, no matter what state or geography they come from, they are incredibly qualified to meet the moment of disseminating justice in the District of Columbia. With that, I'd like to focus my questions on the caseload and the tremendous backlog that the residents of the district are facing relative to experiencing justice in their cases. We know that the Superior Court of the District of Columbia serves about 671,000 people in Washington, D.C. And the latest statistics show that overall, new case filings are increasing by 41%, nearly 45,000 filings. To that end, I'd just like to pose to each of you, and in this instance, Mr. Trong, we'll start with you and work our way back. What do you believe are some of the biggest challenges that you would face in transitioning to the DC Superior Court, and what is your plan to ensure a smooth transition?
Thank you, Senator. Your question really identified a critical issues confronting Superior Court at the moment. If confirmed to serve as a judge, one of the things I believe that can help with the many cases is to move cases through the courtroom efficiently. And with that in mind,
remember, we still got people from 2001 or 2021 sitting in jail in Washington, D.C. that haven't even been to trial yet, and they're still sitting in prison. So this is all a joke about her wanting to hurry up and get people through. Again, it all depends on the politics of the person that's in jail. The questions here are the usual, the answers here are the usual garbage. Get back to her next set of questions. Try and find her next question.
For those thoughtful responses. My last question I would like to direct to Judge Boucher and Mr. McKenzie. You both have backgrounds that involve our young leaders. Ms. Boucher.
Okay. She's wanting to talk about young leaders, but let's look at what she's asking here.
At Howard University and Mr. McKenzie as a classroom educator. There are instances on the rise where our young leaders are finding themselves interacting with our criminal justice system.
I wonder which young leaders she's talking about. If they're having to interact with the justice system from the side of being prosecuted. Just what kind of young leader are you talking about? Are you talking about the ones out there leading protests, damaging public property, destroying public property, setting fires? And these are the people that you're calling young leaders?
In our court system writ large, what lessons have you derived from your prior experiences working with our young leaders that prepare you to meet justice with them in this moment?
Yeah, what kind of person, what kind of leadership role does being arrested and having to go up before judges on trial, what kind of leadership role is that preparing you for? That you've committed a crime that you've got to go up and see a judge over.
Well, I was proud to serve as the supervising attorney of the Family Justice Clinic at my alma mater, Howard University School of Law. It was an opportunity to train the young minds of tomorrow's leaders. When I see individuals who appear before me, I hope to serve as a message of what is possible for them. In my experience, supervising the students has also allowed me to have a certain level of understanding, compassion, as I communicate with individuals when they appear before me.
Once again, these are people who are before you because they're accused of crimes. They're accused of committing a crime there, lady. All right? And being accused of committing a crime, you're going to, how'd you put that?
Train the young minds of tomorrow's leaders. When I see individuals who appear before me, I hope to serve as a message of what is possible for them. In my experience, supervising the students has also allowed me to have a certain level of understanding, compassion, as I communicate with individuals when they appear before me.
So you're going to take somebody and you're going to have compassion. I guess it's going to depend on what kind of crime they committed, isn't it? Because I'm sure that if it was somebody on the other side of the political spectrum from you, they wouldn't receive so much of your compassion. Now, would they?
Thank you.
Okay. What is all right? Oh. Somebody or something just set off my security system. I have no idea what it was. Anyway, do you honestly believe these judges? I know I sure as hell don't. I don't believe these judges when they go up in front of the Senate, because they've all been trained in exactly what to say. And you got Dick Durbin and whoever up there cutting down anybody who dares question them about their past. Yeah, it's the government. I believe nothing. And again, right now I'm picking on Dick Durbin and the Democrats. I've got my own issues when the Republicans do them, but my biggest issue with Republicans is they don't have a damn spine. The Democrats had no problem suing Trump every time he turned around. Over damn near every executive order, they tried to sue him over it. And the big one they won was DACA when he tried to overturn DACA or end DACA. They found some liberal judge and that really should have gone up before the Supreme Court. This last one was just icing on the cake. I don't need to worry about that. Guys, as always, whether they're talking, whether they're writing bills, whether they're giving speeches, prepared speeches, or testifying, we've always got to look at what they didn't say. Because what they didn't say, what they didn't put in that bill, what they didn't say in their speech, like Tammy Duckworth's speech there. Tammy Duckworth, she's being so broad in her speech about how evil Republicans were because Americans were being, this bill would apply to all Americans. Well, she's being overly broad because there are no restrictions on age in there, on that bill. And if that bill became law, children would be out buying contraceptives without the parents knowing about it. But the Democrats don't want to tell you that's one of their goals. And when the Republicans offered an amendment to make that a thing, to restrict that bill to applying only to adults 18 and over, the Democrats refused it. It wasn't even allowed to come to the floor for a vote. So the dirty politics and our dirty media, you just got to watch out for them because they like to lie, and they lie a lot. They lie to the American people on a day-to-day basis. So a lot of times you got to pull up the bill itself and read it and look for what's in it and oftentimes for what's not in it. And if you don't make any assumptions, if a bill should only pertain to adults, but it doesn't say anything about only pertaining to adults. If a bill should only pertain to children, but it doesn't say anything about only pertaining to children, then you got to ask yourself why that wasn't part of the bill. Then you have to ask yourself why, when you start seeing the media ganging up on people, but they don't interview the people they're ganging up on and giving them a chance to talk, you have to ask yourself why. Why that's not being allowed, why that's not happening, why you're not hearing the other side. So that's an issue. It's an issue, and hard lessons to be learned. It really is hard lessons to be learned, but they're lessons that we have to learn. So, guys, ladies, and gents, ramen, mass creations, Fury, and Nil, and Tyre if you're still around. Digi, I want to thank you all for coming out. I appreciate you. Try to be back tomorrow. Everyone, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. And be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Have a good day.